Hi, everyone. Welcome to Career Conversations. I'm Meera Jogasundram, and our guest today, Karls Karthikeyan. He is a seasoned strategist with over 15 years of profound experience in the world of business. He is a distinguished authority in establishing and maintaining thriving international companies. His unique blend of international exposure, military discipline, and strategic acumen sets him apart as a trusted advisor in the global business landscape. Presently, Karls Karthikeyan heads an international consulting firm where he leverages his wealth of experience to offer invaluable advice to numerous companies in Singapore and overseas. His consultancy services encompass a wide range of strategic considerations, from market entry and expansion to sustainable growth and crisis management. His clients benefit from his visionary guidance and meticulous planning. This results in enhanced business performance and profitability. As a thought leader in the field of business strategies, Karls Karthikeyan's insights have been sought after by industry leaders, entrepreneurs, and decision makers worldwide. His commitment to sharing his knowledge and expertise has made him a sought after speaker at international conferences and seminars, where he imparts his wisdom on unlocking success through strategic excellence. That was a lot. Hi, Karthik.
Hi, Mira. So honored to be here. Yeah, it does sound like a lot of things, but when you say it like that, yeah. Otherwise, it's pretty much a adventurous journey. That's what it really is.
We are so happy to have you. We are honored to have you. How are you feeling today?
Great, great. I'm very excited to talk with you after so many years. That's for one, and hopefully, our listeners or future listeners to gain some insights from, and hopefully, we can inspire them in some level.
You know what, Karthik? You say you are excited, but you look super cool, calm, and confident. I don't see the excitement there.
There's too much of a frame here, to jump around.
Okay, viewers, if you are watching this live stream, please feel free to post your comments, your questions in the comment section attached to this post. Now, this could be on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are. Type in your comments. I'll flash it on the screen, and our guest will gladly respond to them. Right, Karthik?
Yes, let's not call me a guest. Let's just call me a friend, a colleague, a well wisher to all who are viewing us today. I'm more than happy and looking forward to share what I know or what little or more with people who have questions.
Excellent, excellent. Friend, well wisher, whatever, right? Not a guest, friend, well wisher, guide.
Mm.
Okay, Karthik, tell us about your career journey.
Okay, so wow, where do I start? There's so much to start with. Uh, okay, so I went to Polytechnic. And from there, coming from a very financially difficult family, I decided to join the Air Force right after BMT. Being in the Air Force, my goals were set very much to becoming an officer. But at that point of time, the only openings, I mean, due to whatever reasons, was an aircraft technician. Now, that's a specialist role. For those who know, in Singapore, there are two different tracks. One is a specialist role, one is an officer role. And once you go into a specialist, there's almost zero chances of you becoming an officer. Mine was a very cool, uh, I would say, luck to some extent. So I started off because it's my first step into the real full-time career per se. And at that point in time, as a kid or a young adult joining the Air Force, that salary looked good. And I needed that kind of a moral booster, financial backing to continue my degree, coming from a background like that. So years went by. I set my goals to becoming an officer. I still remember very clearly. I went through every year you get one interview. Okay, there was this very special conversion course they had. At that time, they called it the Air Maintenance Officer Conversion course. They wanted specialists with a certain amount of experience, 5 to 6 years, to allow them to convert to an officer and take a commanding role, to become an air maintenance officer. Because usually an officer is a commanding role and a specialist is more of a very technical thing. They wanted a intermediate, integrated kind of person. So the Air Force had this particular thing, but only the top 5% will get in. We're talking about the entire Air Force, only top 5% will get in. So I tried my first year, I got rejected. Second year, I got rejected, and majorly was due to because as an officer, your physicality is still very prime importance in the force, being a defense force and all. So that 2 years I took to train, and it also what it's very interesting is when you train your body, your mind suddenly tends to focus well and better as well. And I noticed that certain things became much more clearer. My problem solving skills became better. So on my third interview, and I still remember I was about 25 at that point in time, and that was the cutoff age. And I thought, this is my last try, just go all in. And that point of time, I remember very clearly. I said, you know what, this is the last. There's nothing to hold back. Whatever it is, just give it all. There's no more fear, nothing. And I think I guess I impressed the commanders back then in the interview, and I got in. So from a specialist, a first sergeant, from a corporal all the way to first sergeant, and then from there I converted to an officer. I went through at age 25, 1 year of, this is not 18 years old, no. At 25, I spent one whole year in camp training, and the Air Force leadership training was very different. You will spend every week studying on top of all your physical activities. You'll be writing tests and exams every other week for the whole year. We're talking about 50 over papers and a lot of
Intensive.
yeah. And but because you have nothing else to do, you are in there for next 10 hours. You're not you have no time for anything else. You are in camp, you see. So you are totally focused on training and studying. And they really focused us on leadership, and they gave us a lot of theses, a lot of studies, a lot of exams, just to tell us the importance of leadership versus management. At that point in time, at that age, it didn't make much of a difference until I stepped into the current current civil sectors. Then I saw the how a lot of people are still struggling with the same problem. So that's officership for you. And once I got into officership, my goals was reached. Once my goals was reached, I realized that there was a certain amount of where I can grow. There was a roof maximum that I could grow, and I felt there's one question that I asked myself at that point of time was, is this all I'm going to be? Am I going to be here for the next until 55, 30, 40 years old and then just come out? Is this the only adventure in my life? And that thought scared me. That scary thought made me do something even more scarier. At about 27, 28, I quit the Air Force to do full-time theater.
What a frightening prospect.
I was discouraged left, right, and center. And of course, it felt like a midlife crisis. The backlash was crazy. Financially, you just plummet from, I took a pay cut like almost 5, 6 times lower. And suddenly your lifestyle changes. The way you look at things, the things that you appreciate changed. Your friend circles changed. Yeah, so going into art, because yeah, Mira, we have been, you have been my senior in Apsaras as well. So I've been dancing since a tender age of 16.
Okay,
So
just so that the viewers know what we are talking about.
hmm,
Viewers, Apsaras Arts is a performing arts company, non-profit organization. I was very active in that organization, and Karthik was a very innocent young teenager at that time. So that was once upon a time. Okay, coming back to you, Karthik.
Yeah, so that particular arts thing at 16 literally groomed me in many ways. I'm not only was I with Apsaras, I was also with People Association. I was also doing for Mani Maran sir in his dance troupe as well. And every weekend was a dance performance and stuff. But he instilled into me a lot of character, a lot of discipline, a lot of different people from different walks of life. So naturally, that kept. I mean, it. Whenever you step on stage, you become alive. Like my friend Ananda Kannan used to say, "God bless his soul. He's not around anymore. I think it's been 2 years." Kanna used to say, when I went to full time theatre, I helped quite a number of theatre companies in Singapore establish themselves, and they're still around. Some of them will credit me, some won't. I leave that to them. But I was always a strategist from day one till today. I've always been a strategist. I strategize for most of the companies, theater companies. I even held a very temporary position as a vice president for Singapore Indian Artists Association as well, which is the oldest Indian Artists Association in Singapore, almost 50 years old at that point in time. Again, it was a strategy, revamping them, giving them a new identity, a new branding, a new look, a new revenue models. So that's pretty much what I was doing. I didn't know my strength until Kanna AK Ananda Kannan was. He was the one when I stepped into this black box where most of our plays happen. He will pretty much says, I can see your eyes glistening, glittering like the stars. You sometimes, no matter how good you are, you need a mirror to see yourself. You need the help of a mirror. So Kanna was like that for me. In fact, he's the guy who identified me as a strategist. But then what does a strategist do? How valuable is it? How do you propose to somebody that, hey, look, I can strategize for you? It's tough, in the sense that how much is it valued, and how do you value yourself before people can, it always comes down to dollars and cents. Sometimes people, when you go and help them, you strategize, they ask you, so how much are you going to charge me? And that's a very difficult question to say, because what is a strategist? A strategist tells you something for a 5 years goal, a 3 years goal, 2 years goal. Yes, but in all that, the primary thing is paradigm shifts. You try to find out how is their thinking, what kind of person they are, how have they dealt with the current challenges they face, and what is stopping them from growing further. And most of the time, the things that I found is their strength is also their weakness. What built them to a certain level is also the same thing that is stopping them from growing further from that level. I mean, the beautiful saying, where they say, if you're doing the same thing as you've always been doing, you cannot expect a different result. You have to try something new. I mean, it's like bodybuilding, if you've ever hit the gym before, if you carry the same 10 kg weight with the same style, yeah, the first 2 weeks you will feel sore. Then after that, there is nothing happening. There's no improvement at all. You need to shock that muscle. Similarly, our brains, our characters, our behaviors work the same way. You need to shock it once in a while. So, and me being me, I love adventures. I mean, one of the funniest thing is on my birthdays, I love to do something that will make me fear. Like I'll go bungee jumping, or I'll go, paragliding, just to have that sense of appreciation for the life that you have. You shock the system. You know what I mean? So same thing. Coming back to business, it's pretty much the same mantra that I follow. You shock the system. You try out new things. Don't be afraid to fail. But there are calculated risks. How much can you take risks? How much you want to, try out certain things? So it's a calculation. How much of your comfort zone are you willing to come, because any changes will always come with this sinusoidal wave, where you'll always have a dip before a rise. It's always going to happen. So Do you have what it takes mentally, physically, monetarily to sustain that dip? That's pretty much the question. So before I waver too much off, so Kanna was the one who literally found that I was a strategist. He'll ask me to strategize for him.
So we are still in your theater
Correct. We are now theater phase.
stint. Yes, okay.
So in that theater phase, of course, it came to my knowledge that there's a creative side of me. There's also a very professional side of me, very structured side of me. And both these came hand in hand when it came into the art scene in Singapore, because I realized that a lot of artists in here are very good at creating, but the moment it goes down to documentation, paper, groundworks and stuff like that, they shun from it. They rather not do it. I mean, I've gotten lots of grants for a lot of companies, theater companies back then. I realized, okay, great. So I have something to offer. But am I a creator? Yeah, sometimes I do. I mean, I've done tons of plays, productions. Even I've directed quite a few, I've acted quite a few. I still do local TV productions. I go and act. That is more of my relaxation stuff. But it always comes down to me looking at the production value, the strategic side of it, the dollars and cents, the P&Ls. That's what excites me sometimes. So yeah, so the the shift came. Of course, with that shift I took a huge financial hit, and that also cost my marriage at that point of time. And
You mean from Air Force to theater or from theater to where you are now?
from Air Force to theater,
Okay.
in that transitional zone, my back then marriage took all that financial hit as well. So me being young and still learning a lot of stuff was, I guess, it was too much at that point of time, and it put me into a huge depression. I needed help, but I didn't know how to ask for help or who to ask for help. You know what I mean? There's a lot
Why
of,
was that? Why was that, Karthik?
I guess it's pretty much. I mean, it's how I was brought up. I guess you did. You never heard of at that point in time. We are talking about what 2010. Very few people in my circle heard of life coaches, or I mean, even if you've heard of psychologists who can help you, you think they are expensive, etc., etc. So what happened? So because of that, I mean, what who the people I helped, they benefited definitely. For me to carry on in that part, I didn't have the emotional strength. So I did the first best thing I knew. I jumped on the first plane and I went left to USA.
Why US?
I don't know. I mean, we all have a bucket list. There are certain countries I wanted to see. One was London. Big Harry Potter fan here. Shout out to all the Potterheads. Uh, that and of course states. I mean, look at all the movies we watch. We know more of the lingos in USA than any other country. If I tell you DMV,
Absolutely.
yeah, if I
Absolutely. Even though Singapore follows British English for the education
see
system, we are
media.
very, very influenced by the American system. Yes.
So I wanted to see it firsthand. I mean, just like how you see Tamil movies and then you want to go to the paddy field. Same thing. You see US movies, you want to go to New York City and you want to, try out Walmart. You want to drive through Waffle House and stuff like that. So I went there, and now me being me will always have a backup plan. So I went to a local company in Singapore who had the possibilities of branching out into the US. And at that point in time, the company already had, sorry to say, the boss and the company are no more around, but
Okay.
they were very, the first introduction to the business world for me outside of the Air Force. I mean, real ones, of course, because from young, I've always had an interest in business. I've tried my hands at many, many small things, but this was really more of a guidance. So back then, RR Diesel was had a US company in Texas, but it was just a virtual office back then. I'm talking 2010. In 2022, virtual office is common. In 2010, it was never heard of. So I said, you know what? I studied the company a bit. I spoke to the director, and I said, send me to the States. I will make this branch of yours at least 2 times bigger than this, what you have right now. All you have to spend for me is so much X dollars. I told them, take a chance on me. And they did. I mean, I got a free trip to the States. And I did what I did. I went to the Houston. I saw the office. They were, sharing with another forwarder company in Houston. And I said, you know what? Our suppliers are all the way in North Carolina, and we are trying to bring the goods all the way from there, truck it down to Houston. We are talking about a good 15 hours drive away. It's a different state altogether. And then from Houston, international connections. So what I did, I mean, total new country, 1%, no support. I just learned everything off the internet, Google, GPS myself, and I took a
How
U-Haul.
how how did that experience make you feel?
Liberating, not scared, because you had nothing to lose at
Explain,
the point of time.
explain, please. Why liberating? How?
See, at that point of time, I had nothing to lose. I'm like a rock bottom. What's the worst that can happen? I feel I come back home to the same thing. One. So there's really nothing to lose. So I figured that there's a certain culture in the States. So I took a U-Haul. U-Haul is something like those rentable 10-foot attachments to your car. I rented. I took my first license in the States, by the way, not even in Singapore. I went the first,
Really?
yeah, first thing when I landed, I went to the DMV. I wrote an exam, and I borrowed somebody's car. I remember I paid the insurance for 100 US dollars, and then I borrowed somebody's car and I drove it. I got my license. That's how I got my first US license. So I rented a car, or more of a truck actually, rented a U-Haul, moved the entire office into the U-Haul, and I drove down 15 hours, sorry, 15 hours from there all the way passing Miami all the way down to North Carolina, Beaufort. Now, Beaufort is facing the Pacific Ocean because that's where all the ships and all come down to repair. And that's where they had this Caterpillar branch down there. And they were our suppliers. And I put an office right next to them
Why?
so that for me, I have a personal interaction with them and to buy the goods as faster, any problems I can solve. And then I established the connections, the freight forwarding, and everything. And I was there for a good 1 year plus. And that was like I promised. I actually made the company 10 times more than what they were making at the point of time with that branch alone. So that was my
Wow.
first taste at business success, you can say, in Whisk. Once I did that, I left that job. See, the thing about me is I like to explore. The same reason why I left the Air Force is because I cannot picture myself doing the same thing for the next 40, 50 years. I want to see everything. In one lifetime, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a businessman, I want to be an artist, that kind of dream thing. So I wanted to see the next best thing. Now, the thing about doing trading, buying, selling, stuff like that, is that it got me excited because you can see your results directly. It was very different from being in the civil sector, where,
Absolutely.
yeah. So this is pretty much your
Where you
performance
have to wait years to see
sometimes.
results.
Yeah, yeah. And, and is it really, I mean, sorry to say, a lot of times there's it's not about how well you do. Of course, you do well, you will promote faster and stuff like that. But as long as you are not making major mistakes, you will get your promotion due time accordingly. That was how systems worked. Other than that, in our sector outside in the business field, the civil sectors and stuff like that, it's more of performance. You don't perform, you're out. 3 months is
Yeah.
the best you get. No performance, out you go.
Yeah.
And that became a formula. So yeah, so when you were doing trading, freight forwarding was a very key factor. And freight forwarders had this own language and their own stuff that never I never understood. But it intrigued me a lot because it got a lot to do with customs, a lot to do with country to country, and I love traveling. I can safely say that I've traveled to quite a lot of countries, which we'll be covering shortly as well. Uh, Most of the time, I don't think I paid for them. It's always business trips. So either the company pays or stuff like that. So yeah, so the next thing I did was I came back to Singapore and I joined this freight forwarding company as a operational executive. Back again, ground bottom, new
Okay,
industry.
let me just backtrack. So you left this job for this company where you made 10 times a profit for
Hmm.
them from in the US, and then you came back to Singapore because you wanted to know what the next best thing was.
I
You
mean,
wanted,
I got homesick also. I
oh,
wanted.
okay.
Okay, so Beaufort is more of like a farming place. You see yards and yards of sunflowers. My office was literally facing the Pacific Ocean. I can see dolphins flying, jumping across.
Wow.
That's how it was, and I see lots of boats. But US being US, sometimes you get boring unless you're in the city. So I got homesick. You know what? I'm going back to Singapore. I want to see my friends. I want to have my food. All the stuff. That's pretty much cooking and on my own. So that's why I came back. So when I came back, I was looking at the next best thing, and so you know what? I want to explore freight forwarding, logistics. I mean, when I was in the Air Force as a technician, I was a logistician. I'm grilled to plan things ahead, see things ahead. That's pretty much who I was. So this fit in right in. But if I needed to go in a new industry, I got to start back again from the rock bottom. But you see, it's exciting. Therefore, I did it. So I started as an operational executive in Rio Logistics. I climbed. Uh, First 6 months was a struggle. I couldn't understand anything. Nothing clicked. And I'm at my 30s, and suddenly nothing is clicking. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Am I getting old or I just don't understand this field? Cannot be you. I'm not that not intelligent kind of guy. I'm pretty, averagely intelligent, I believe. And then one day, after trying and trying and trying and making tons of mistakes, I mean, I must applaud my boss, Mr. Ravi, who was my second biggest mentor in my life in business. Uh, is that he kept his faith on me. I mean, I'm a kind of numbers guy. I always calculate how much shipments I do in the month, and am I actually bringing twice the profit of what I am costing the company? I mean, the backline I always do these checks for myself. And the first 6 months I didn't, and it was very very taxing for me, and it was not clicking at all because it's a lot of processes, and I'm a very you know organized person. Even with all that, I was not getting it. And then I still remember this was the time for those who knows in the logistic field, there was this big carrier. Carrier means vessel operator called Hanjin. They shut down and it caused a huge uproar throughout the entire world, where a lot of containers were stuck, shipments were stuck, they were not moving, and there's a lot of things. And somehow during that struggle, from okay, so just to put it into perspective, usually a person handles like 3 to 5 shipments a day.
Okay.
During the Hanjin era, we were handling 15 to 18 shipments a day. So it's 3 times as more. And suddenly everything clicked. At the speed I was moving, everything was going perfectly. And why I remember this point in time so clearly is because I remember we were short-handed, short-staffed. My bosses were overseas as well. They were really depending on the few of us who were left, and we really, let's just say, it clicked, and everything was going smoothly. So after that whole thing,
How did it click, Karthik? What do you mean by that?
uh, just like when you practice something, let's say a new skill, you try and try and try and you fail and you fail and you fail, and then the point is you will give up many times. I think I gave up like 10 times. I clearly remember crying to my general manager back then, who was my supporting strength as well. i I'm trying, but it just doesn't make sense. uh, but then one day you get that one shipment perfectly done, and then the rest is history.
Of course.
And that has two things that comes with it. One, your own self-confidence, and very much so someone outside, even a random person who has confidence in you. When these two things come at the right time with the right practice and the amount of knowledge and experience, it clicks. And then it's just upsoaring from there.
So
From
would
the
it,
operational
sorry to
executive.
interrupt, sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt, because these are very, very crucial points for the viewers as well. Would it be fair to say that failure is actually nothing but experience?
I think failures, I mean, very cliche. They say failures are your stepping stones to success. But you know what? If you don't fail, you will not succeed.
Absolutely.
You need to embrace failure. You need to love failure. Of course, you don't purposely go and fail that, but
No,
but
the thing is, how would you tell someone who is experiencing repetitive failure, I mean, embrace failure? Do you know how it sounds to the person? I'm sure you know how it sounds.
mm, mm,
So, what would
I,
you tell that person who is now failing, failing, failing? What would you tell that person?
you need to learn to celebrate success. I'm not just saying embrace, I'm saying celebrate your failures. When I say celebrate,
How? How?
literally, uh, every single failure teaches you one thing, at least one thing. You need to stop, you need to analyze, you need to see what you've learned from that. And now, this is a very conscious thing to do, you know. I'm a person who writes notes a lot, either on my own WhatsApp to myself. Some people find it crazy. I've got a WhatsApp chat with myself. So that's why my pointers goes.
Okay, that's a first. That's a first for me. I'm hearing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a group chat, but only I'm there. So I talk to myself. So that's where my pointers goes. I still do quick notes. You know, because I tend to jump quickly, and my I don't remember things on a long term unless I have done it multiple times. I'm a very kinetic person. Let's just keep it that way. I think it's
Okay.
easier to explain. So I need to have hands-on in things before I it really internalizes. So if I want to do something, I won't keep it in my mind because I have this thing there. I'm going to grow old one day. All of us are going to, and your mind, no matter how sharp you are, it's not going to help you years down the road. But your
Yes.
habits might. So from a very young age, I had this habit of writing things down somewhere, either in my notes or in my WhatsApp or somewhere to refer to, so that I know in my old age this habit will help me even if my memory fails. That's a very conscious thing that I got much more earlier in my 20s. So where were we? So Rio, yeah,
Celebrating failure. How do we
celebrating failure.
celebrate?
That's right. So I saw this Tamil movie. Okay, so just to be candid,
Okay,
so
just
yeah,
when you say Tamil movie, you I think it's best you describe a bit more for the viewers who are
uh,
non-Tamils.
how do I say this? I mean, it's a movie. It's a
Okay.
Tamil. Sorry, that's the best. So this guy, the character is very unique. He does things purely for the kicks. Okay, that means he will jump from job to job. Today he wants to be a police officer. Tomorrow he wants to be a lawyer. Next day he wants to be a robber because he loves the adrenaline. He's an adrenaline junkie. All right. I confided with this character so much when I saw this movie. Because I'm an adrenaline junkie too. I jump from planes just for the kick of it, you know, just to feel how close you can get to death so that you can appreciate life more. Oxymoronic, I know, but that's pretty much how I see it, you know. For this year's birthday, I want to go shark diving. Figure.
Shark diving.
Yeah, yeah.
Where?
uh, so the Great Barrier Reefs has these things where they put you in a cage and they throw you into the ocean around sharks.
I mean, Karthik, why?
One, overcoming fear. Two,
Okay.
get adrenaline pumping. You know,
Okay.
it's like riding a bicycle down a steep slope forever.
It's quite frightening
So that
to
hard
visualize.
yeah, which one? The cycle or
No,
the shark?
everything that you said in the middle of the ocean, surrounded by sharks in a cage. What if the cage door suddenly, happens to open and the lock doesn't work?
I don't know. I'm going to find that out.
Wow.
I'll tell you after I'm
Okay.
done.
Okay.
So this coming back to the guy, so he does it for kicks. Now there's a point in that movie where the first time in his life he'll meet failure. So we're talking
Okay.
about by a protagonist who consistently does things to for the kicks, and he lets go of his kicks very quickly because the moment it's not exciting anymore, he changes to the
Okay.
next best thing. And for the first time in his life, he's facing failure. What was be your natural response to such a person who's had success all his life, bored of it, and suddenly he meets failure? What do you think he would have done? We would expect him to break down, depress, and right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the entire movie gave a total 360 uh, reference to it. This guy was kicking and dancing and celebrating his failure. He said, "This feels great." I know. So,
No, I mean, what is the reasoning behind it?
because it felt great to lose for the first time.
Oh, it's unfamiliar territory. And unfamiliar territory means you learn more and you grow more. Is
That's right.
that what you're trying to say?
So when I saw that, it suddenly taught me that I can celebrate failures as well. Look, you can try a business. I think a lot of people want to be businessman. I'm telling you, everybody I talk to, every uncle in the coffee shop, I mean, for international audience, that's our normal Starbucks in here, kind of stuff. Uh, you know, all the elderly people or even friends, even same age, lower, everybody talks about wants doing a business. But that's where it stops.
Yeah.
Everything else settles in because the moment they meet failure, they give up. But the point here is, if you do not celebrate your failures, if you really don't, I mean, if you really want something, go get it. Because how long is your life? See, what the biggest fear that I have is in my last breath, I don't want to regret anything. And when I say that, I don't want to
Absolutely.
regret not trying something. I rather
Yeah.
have tried it, failed it, than to have never tried it at all. Sounds like love, right? But yeah, I've got a love hate relationship with failure, I guess. So yeah, you want to say something?
No, I mean it sounds like that is your way of living life to the fullest.
Yeah, yeah. So uh, that's how. I mean, when we come to my current company, Favent, it also has changed a lot in the last 4 years, and you will understand where these are my driving forces. Okay, to do what I do, why so much phases, and it'll make sense because I have a lot of friends along this way, and now we're only talking about my logistic journey. That's my third phase, right? And that
Okay,
logistic.
so let me get this. Let me just be clear for the viewers. Celebrate your failure, celebrate every failure,
Mhm,
and make sure you learn from it, become better, and find the lesson in every failure so that you can grow
mhm.
and
I
not
mean,
make the same mistake.
you can be down. You can choose. You every time you have a choice. You have a choice either to say, "Oh, you know what? I didn't get it this time," or you have a chance to say, "I learned this thing new." I mean, going back to my Air Force days, that time I had a very senior. I think he was in his 50s, going to retire. He used to drive me out of our bases. He had a very old, rundown Toyota car. I think I was into my very first 6 months in the Air Force. Driving back, he said, "What did you learn today?" And that caught me by surprise. I mean, I do what you guys tell me to do lah, on a day-to-day basis. You want me to take the hammer and hit some screws and nails, and that's pretty much what I was doing the first few years. What do you mean by what I learned today? Are you asking me if I've learned enough? No, I said, what did you learn today? And that was like, okay, you were trying to tell me something. And he said, you know what? Every day, learn at least one thing. It can be anything. Just
Yeah.
learn one thing. And ever since then, up to today, I make it a point that I learn at least one new thing per day. And this is a time before YouTube, Facebook, Wikipedia, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have a lot of information. It's easier to learn one thing every day. Is it
Yeah.
useful to what you're doing? There's a different thing that becomes a strategy. But learn one thing every day. If not, my day feels like, oh my god, I wasted 24 hours. That's how it'll feel like. And sometimes there's this frantic search for, okay, you know what? I need to do something. I need to learn something today. I need to try something new today. That constant thing, that one thing led to this habit of mine. And that habit has made me change myself so many times in my course. Along this whole journey, we're only halfway through, by the way.
Yeah.
Uh, I had a lot of friends who said, "Are you crazy? You left a very good Air Force. You should be regretting it." No, I'm not regretting it. I chose freedom. I chose freedom. No, not freedom from the Air Force, freedom of choice, liberation, to do what I want to do, to experience life the way I want to experience life. Yes, I make blundering mistakes. Many people will even call it a taboo for that matter. Blunders, like literally blunders. How many times I fell into depths and cleared those depths is crazy. But what did those depths taught me? It gave me financial experiences, how to handle my debts, how the debts should not affect my mood, how it should not make me feel so depressed, how happiness can get you out of debt, not the other way around.
Yeah.
There's one point in time, it seemed a lot for me. I think it was the second cycle of my debts at the point of time. And, you know, again, AK called me. He said, Carls, don't wait for your debts to clear to be happy. Because when you're happy now, you will find ways, automatically, the universe will help you clear your debts. And at that point in time, it sounded like, some fairy tale, but it was so true. Because the only thing you have under your control, sometimes, even if everything else fails, is pretty much your own capacity to be happy or not happy. you know be content
Yes.
or not content, because the moment you are happy in a good zone, you can handle pretty much anything the world throws at you.
Yes.
And with that mantra in hand and in head, uh, I took a lot of risks, jumped like crazy. And a lot of my friends says, you are mad, you should settle down. This is not the way to go. Why can't you settle down in one job? That kind of stuff. But what they didn't know was every single employer or bosses I had, I've not even gotten to my millionaire boss yet. uh, I was not there to work for them. I always made sure I was either second or third to the boss. I had direct access to my bosses. I always made sure that, because I was there to learn from them. And not skills, because skills is something that you can practice and get. I wanted to know what drove them. I wanted to know what was their mentality. I wanted to know how they saw money. Saw means how they interpret money. What does that mean to them? Those are the things that I wanted to learn. A lot of us don't come from wealthy families. We don't have experienced fathers to teach us, or mothers or parents or uncles and aunties who are so wealthy to teach us. Sometimes you meet high flyers, or rich people, and they'll drop you snippets here and there. How much you catch, what you do with those information differs person to person. So, but when I made it a point that I wanted to work with real key people to learn from them on how they perceived life and business, for that I'm willing to take all the pay cut. This mentality came to me when I read this book, a very famous book, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a very old thing, and I read it in Air Force younger days, teenage boys. And the first few chapters, he will talk about how he worked for his rich dad, but the rich dad never paid him, not a single cent. He'll get angry at one point, and he'll be like, "You're not paying me at all. I'm not going to work anymore." And then the rich dad will sit him down and says, "I'm teaching you experience, because once you have this knowledge and experience, nobody can take this away from you."
Yeah.
That is what failure is teaching you. It's teaching you knowledge. Now coming back one big circle again,
No,
huh?
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I like the way you connected it. So that's what failure teaches you, right? The
Yeah,
experience.
because nobody else can teach you that knowledge. Nobody can take away that from you. Now, here's the kicker to this whole thing. In the Air Force, we have this saying: you are not, you don't live long enough to learn everything by experience. You need to be smart to learn from other people's experience. So the Air Force has this thing where we keep all our mistakes filed into a report, and we keep them in every single, we call them squadrons and stuff like that. These are all the past mistakes reports, and then we always break them down by man, machine, management, what was the issue, all the analysis, and they're all filed. I'm telling you, very few people take and read them. But these
There's
are
very few, sorry, I didn't get that. Very few people.
very few people actually browse them.
Oh, why is that?
I mean, I guess it's human culture. We don't like to
Okay.
see failures. We think failure is negative, but you know how much treasure they hold. If you can learn from 10 mistakes from 10 different people or 10 different situations, can you imagine that you'll be prepared for at least five of these situations? You don't have a lifespan enough to learn everything by experience. If you're smart, you can learn that from other people's experience. Now, where the problem comes is a lot of people will not share their failures with you. They only share their success with you.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Now that's the problem. And we also subconsciously always seek out who? People who are successful or we presume are successful. Have we ever seeked out people who have failed so many times in their life? Have we ever asked them? I mean, they might not have analyzed why they failed, but they have got a lot of golden nuggets in them that you can learn from. And I think that's a paradigm shift. So, coming back to the whole thing is we should celebrate failures. Don't be afraid to fail. It's like when I was rollerblading as a kid. I still remember we were rollerblading pretty new to Singapore back then. We had these roller skate parks. I'll fall down like out of 10 times, I'll fall like 8 times. And my friends with me, they say, "Hey, aren't you embarrassed that you're falling so many times?" As a kid, to me, it was like, "No, I'm not. I'm having fun. Fall or rise, the it was fun for me." That's when I said, "Oh, maybe I should be feeling embarrassed, is it?" But I'm not like, why? Am I wired differently? Am I weird? But then I realized that my outlook in life was very different. I had lots of fun. As long as I'm having fun, up or down doesn't matter. And that brings me to another person recently who told me, so long as you're doing business, even if you failed, you had done business. And that, by anybody's book, is considered success. Because very few people have ventured into those waters. Very few people even did, I mean, not just for business, anything. If you have done something that you really wanted to do for a very long time, outside of the norm, of course, you are in success already. You're having fun. You are in the process. What you're learning day to day. Okay, so those were some of the takes so far,
So
right?
you succeed because you gain the experience from failure.
Yeah,
It's
so
almost, yeah, yeah.
we need to learn to celebrate failure and literally celebrate. But you want to celebrate failure, you need to find the positive stuff in it, lah, which means you got to sit down and analyze it.
Huh, absolutely. It's so important to reflect, right?
Yeah. And if I ask a third party to come and say, I mean, if you, okay, if let's say I ask you to go and find the flaw of somebody else's failure, it'll be easy for you. If I ask you to find your own flaws, it'll be so difficult,
Oh, it's so difficult.
right? But now, here's the thing. If I say this person wants to know his flaws, he's willing to pay you for it. Something you are ready to do. I mean, we do it on all. We criticize. We watch movies. We criticize so many things. We go to a hotel. We criticize the experience sometimes. If somebody paid you to do that on a professional level, that becomes that means you are actually analyzing and finding a problem. Once you
Yeah,
know the problem, you start looking for solutions,
yeah,
and to bring that person to that knowledge, showing being a mirror for them. That's pretty much what consultancy does,
yeah.
and that's what we're trying to achieve. It's a very very
Okay.
noble thing, I believe.
It is. It is. I really want to take you back to You coming back to Singapore,
We are our logistics.
logistics. Now, I don't want to miss out on any part of your journey because I am learning a lot here. And I
Mm.
believe whoever is watching and whoever is going to watch will also be learning a lot. So I don't want any part of your journey to be left out.
Okay,
So
hopefully I'm in track.
we are back in Singapore. You're working as an operations executive.
Right. So I told you about the Hanjin and the clicks. I told you those things, right? So
Hanjin as in China, right?
no, Hanjin was a liner. It was the name of
From China.
no, no, no. Uh, yeah. So the
Excuse
company's
my
name was,
ignorance.
it's okay. The vessel owner's name was Hanjin. The company's name was Hanjin.
Okay. So there you go.
And that's okay. It's a total different field, right? So from an operation executive, I grew in that company to to be one of the sought out person to solve problems
in Singapore. This was in Singapore.
within the company itself.
Okay. But you are now back in Singapore. Am I
Yeah,
right?
I'm in Singapore.
Okay.
Yes, working in that company. So after that 6 months, within that one year, 1.5 years time, I learned everything from. I mean, there's logistics is a big world. I mean, if I start explaining, there's a different interview altogether. But again, me being me, curious, I wanted to see every part of logistics at the shortest span of time. So I realized that in that company, I grew and I learned as much as I could, and whatever the company could do, I was doing. And I realized that my knowledge couldn't go any further. So I did the next best thing, lah.
Which is?
I changed company.
Oh,
But this time I went in as a general manager in the same logistic field, different company as general manager. So
okay.
as a general manager, I was working for that company and they had a, now this one was a Singapore-based company. The next company I was general manager, they had one extra branch in India.
In
Which
India.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I went to India. I was stayed in Chennai. I rented a flat. I had the whole paying electricity bill and stuff like that. Going in my bike from Tiruvamayur is where my flat was. Paris Corner is the courthouse is where my office was. Traveling up and down, training the staff there, learning more about how the culture and how the people are there, how they perceive very different. In Singapore, a lot of us, when you go to an interview, we ask for basic salary, correct? And CPF, leaves. That's what we talk about. In India, it's very different. They don't care about the basic salary. They care about their commission.
Mm.
Their commission can be bigger, 3 times, 4 times more than their salary. So the way they work, the way they think, it's very different. It's also a lot of people, all of my students that I taught there in the logistics field there. See, from a normal operation executive, I grew to a GM, and then now I'm training logistic people in India.
Yes, yes, I am fascinated by your journey, from Singapore to the US and then back to Singapore, operations executive, general manager.
Yeah.
There's a wealth of experience attached to all this movement.
After this, I'll go into the next company, also logistic, but a bit more different. That one, I was the regional manager for a few countries. So that one, I'll come to that later. So I'm training people here. So the way they think, and it's very different between Singapore, because in Singapore most of the time what we do when we are earning, we try to buy a house, try to get a car, we try to get married, and pretty much, that's the formula. Okay. I remember when I was 18, when I met you, you asking what are you doing now, what is your aims. I said I want to have my 5 C's. I remember telling this to you.
Oh yes, and I remember laughing. It was at the steps of where I used
Chinatown,
to work before.
right?
Yes. And I
Chinatown.
was and I thought to myself at that point, oh, this guy has got a very idealistic picture of his future and what he wants, and why is it just the 5 C's when he can achieve so
Exactly.
much more?
So now my 5 C's have changed, still 5 C's, like, but the meaning of the C's have changed. Okay.
Because it's much more. It's much
Yeah.
more than the
But for a boy who's still in college, it's for me that 5C is already very big.
it's a lot, yes.
Yeah. But now, when I tell my clients to dream big, they're stuck. That's another thing. One of my first few questions is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I ask this question to my interviewers, they are lost. I ask this to my clients, they are lost. And when I tell them, if I take away all the restrictions, like money, time, and everything, what will you do? What is the idealistic place? And they are lost. They don't know. See, when I take away all the restrictions and tell them, dream big. How big can you dream? You will realize that actually a lot of us are struggling to dream big. And like Walt Disney says, if you can dream it, you can make it happen. So dream.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are having problem dreaming. I mean, this whole world is made out of dreams. One person dreamt that we can fly in an iron bird, and we are today. Like
It
nobody.
starts with the mind, right? You have to visualize it and believe in it, and then it happens.
Somebody has to dream it. Somebody has to dream it for it to happen. I mean, maybe I'm not the one doing it, but somebody dreamt it. Even before the Wright brothers, came up with the first aircraft, Leonardo da Vinci drew it. He didn't succeed, but his dream made these people, improve on it. Yeah, is what you're going to leave behind, doesn't it? Uh,
Plant the seeds. That's what you mean.
that's right. I mean, you might not see the success of it, but somebody else might. Just like this interview today. Many years from now, hopefully somebody sees it and picks up something, one or two things, and brings up their life. They might not credit us, but we are happy we did it.
I don't know about that, Karthik, because I'm learning a lot.
Huh?
I'm learning a lot. Yeah. So you are now the general manager.
Right. So from there, okay. So very quickly, logistic is such a huge word. Logistic comes into a subsection called freight forwarding, where you move goods from one country to another country. Now, the mode of transport of how you move things also diversifies even further. You do it in big containers. You do it either by air freight, sea freight. Then there's a full container. Then there's also this thing about mails, which is very common now and under e-commerce. We do it in postage. In the postage, it goes by. We can actually segregate this entire thing by weight. Anything below 50 grams to 1 kg to 6 kg, 60 kg, 600 kg, 6,000 kgs. I've done 80-ton big propellers and stuff like that. Those are project cargos. So you can, every time the weight goes to the next range, the kind of preparation and the kind of way you manage it, you think 50 grams is nothing, but when you have 2 tons worth of 50-gram parcels, I mean, you're talking about a few thousand parcels, manifesting that, putting that into a list, getting it through customs clearance, it's a different ballgame altogether. Versus I've got a 80-ton propeller, just one item, different ballgame altogether. I wanted to see it all. So when I went, the previous company, I learned sea freight, air freight on a basic level. When I went to become a GM, now these people were concentrating on air freight and how you buy aircraft slots to sell it to freight forwarders. So we are going one step, next step,
Further.
right?
So you're just building on your initial experience, building,
Correct.
building, building, gaining more knowledge, gaining more experience, and your the knowledge is becoming deeper and deeper.
And you know what's the best part? I'd also learned this is what I learned in the last 10 years in this logistic field. A lot of people in 20, 30 years also do not have that knowledge because they are probably stuck somewhere in one category, in one position all their life.
Working in silos.
Yeah, working in silos, and they have no idea how all this connects. And I'm the person, I love to see how things connect. I want to know how the world works from
The
the
bigger picture.
yeah, how the economic turns, where are the gears, where are the wheels, what makes this, what makes that, in that sense, when what historical background made us be what we are, that kind of evolutionary things. So natural curiosity, I guess. Well, this cat's curiosity got 9 lives. I still think I got about 9 lives. Maybe I lost 3 years.
I think if you are not curious, there is little hope for growth.
Yeah, yeah, true, true. Very hungry, very, very hungry for knowledge and the next best thing. So once I learned, aircrafts and air freights and co-loading and buying, I wanted to go even further. Now I'm still in the track of learning from my bosses.
Yeah,
The moment I realized that there's a cap to what
yeah.
this boss of mine can teach me, I am looking for the next best person. So that's when I end up into an MNC company.
Okay.
So there, now
Where
this is
is this MNC? Where?
this okay. So this MNC company uh, started off in okay. Their HQ was in Singapore,
Okay.
but they had footholds in Pakistan, Germany, London, uh, India, and no states. Yeah. So we had four branches. So I was very close again, me being me. I got very close to the boss very quickly, and he was a millionaire. Now this person has a tower in Dubai. Okay, tower. We're talking $200 million worth of tower, and I will be at his desk like his personal assistant, just digging his brain 28 hours a day for the next 1 year. That's what I was doing. Here's the thing: how I got myself into the company was very very unique. At that point in time, Enterprise Singapore was giving out grants to establish companies, Singapore companies abroad. And one of the major market for, for freight forwarders and logistics was Hong Kong. Just like Singapore is a port, and it's a central port for Southeast Asia. Anything that goes to the Western gets collated, consolidated in Singapore. I mean, there's a geographical thing to it. Similarly, Hong Kong does a very similar function in that part of the area. They're the consolidating hub before it goes to the western side of the world. Like your Amazons, everything is in China. But China
Yeah.
doesn't ship them directly. They bring it to Hong Kong and from there it connects. So Hong Kong was a very big port, 10 times bigger than Singapore. So I said, look, sir, let's set up an office. Again, me being me. I said, let's set up an office in Hong Kong. I think it's geographically a very important spoke. We call it the hub and spoke. You know, the hub was in Singapore. A very important part of our expansions to connect all those dots together. Because we were more into the bigger picture of buying aircrafts. We went from where? From shifting containers to buying aircrafts now. Huh?
15 containers to buying aircrafts, operations executive to general manager to regional manager.
So this point in time, I only went in as a Hong Kong head. Now, I so I went into Enterprise Singapore. I said, look, I'm expanding this company into Hong Kong, setting up an office, hiring so much staff. This is the valuation. I got the help of the economic board of Hong Kong just by email. Just by email. Got some data. They were very helpful once they knew that I was trying to expand to them. They gave me so much data, used that to my reports. I told them, look, this is the how big the industry is in Hong Kong, 10 times bigger than Singapore in that sense. This is how much of the pie we are looking to touch, and this is the gap we are trying to fill. Give them all those stuff, and Enterprise gave us the money to hire staff for me to travel to Hong Kong, be the manager there, get an office, and get my stuff going. Within the first 1 year, I think we made a revenue of close to about 2 3 million just the first year alone. So being after I was a Hong Kong head, I was tasked to become the you know what is that, regional manager. So now comes the next part. I had to be the regional manager for Pakistan because I also traveled to. I did the same thing. I went, and after I did well in Hong Kong, I was tasked to go to Germany, London, and the India branches and Singapore branches. These five branches, I need to go and restructure them
Okay.
to the bigger plan. Now, all this happens because I'm sitting down with my millionaire boss, and literally strategizing about what we want to achieve. What was your initial goal and stuff like that, and are we currently aligned? And what are the problem? And I'm telling you, 99% of the time, is staffs, is leadership. It's staffs and leadership. How you are managing them, how you are motivating them, why they're doing what they're doing, that kind of stuff. So I became the regional manager handling all of them. Now, how does one person manage so many branches remotely? This is pre-COVID, mind you. And me, I love technology. I always leverage on technology. So we came up with our own GPS systems for check-ins and check-outs. So the moment this person's phone is near the vicinity of the office, it auto checks in. So I know who's in the office, who's not in the office. Of course, cameras, and then we use Microsoft Teams as our main base to collate all the data and stuff like that. So we know live data. I mean, in my time as an Air Force, I was telling you, I was in a very prominent location, studying a lot of live data. So to me, We have done live problems. We are not talking about, past data or present. We're talking about live data. I'm always about that.
Live data. Got it.
So I use those mentality or those technologies or those tactics in the business world. So I was able to live monitor my staff's work, what they are doing from 5 different countries. We are looking about 50 over staff. I mean, when I was an officer, I had like 300 men under me. That's a different story altogether. But those are trained people who are trained to follow. You come to the business world, just to get one person to do what you want them to do is a different thing altogether. So 50 over people, managing them, you're not even in their country, not even in the same state to start with. So that was the challenge. Again, challenge. All that went very well. Uh, and I must say this, I don't like to work from office.
You
Contrary to
don't
the,
like to work from office.
yes, I don't like to work from office.
Where do you like to work from?
I like to work from anywhere and everywhere. See, when I this even now work from home is a thing. 15 years ago, people had no idea what work from home was. But even back then, I'll be arguing with my bosses, and I'm close enough to them. I'll argue with them. I don't see why I need to come to the office. I have all my documents. I mean, when people are still filing them, I was scanning and putting them to my Dropbox. Dropbox new, just came out. Uh,
Okay.
I'm talking about 2010, 2009 kind of thing. Okay. So I'm put all my documents neatly in my Dropbox. They are synced, and wherever I go, I can access my document because I have this thing of where people call me and ask me, and you know me, right? I don't like to commit anything to memory. In that sense, I will quote Einstein. There's this story where someone went to Einstein and they asked him, "What's your phone number?" And Einstein opened the drawer, took out a piece of paper, and read out his phone number. And the person was shocked. I mean, you are this great genius, You are this guy who black hole theorem, and stuff like that, but you cannot remember your own phone number. And his reply to that was, I don't commit unnecessary things to my mind. I use it for analyzing, not to store things. So I have a very different outlook to people who say, oh, I can memorize 1,000 stuff. Good, you got a good hard drive. But I prefer a better processor. You know what I mean?
Got it. Got it. Okay.
So that's pretty much my outlook to it. Uh, so yeah, so even back then itself, I wanted to work from anywhere because I remember Kanna said, you know what, I want to see you working from Hawaii. I said, how Hawaii? I said, the world is connected already. You can do. And that point of time, I still remember somewhere in 2010, 2012, people are talking about business continuity plan. It was an in thing. Even in the Air Force, we were doing it way before it hit the business world. How do you function if your whole office is burned down today? So I never ever committed anything to hard copies. I always committed them to soft copies. Always had them at my disposal wherever I was. So I didn't see the necessity to be stuck to a desk to do what I need to do. I just needed information to make collective decisions. And better still, if I can get, sorry, can I take 10 seconds, 5 seconds?
Sure. Sure.
Just give me 5 seconds.
Sure. Viewers, just a recap. This conversation with Karthik, I'm sure you are learning a lot. I am learning a lot. We have just been tracing his career journey from the Air Force right up to the point when he is a regional manager, managing staff in 5 different countries virtually. Right, Karthik?
Yes, virtually. So
Okay.
because I think back then I remember I think it was the monk who sold his Ferrari. I believe that is the book. He was talking a lot about in his books how he used to you know get people to do his work for him, because coming back to the whole Einstein thing, you don't need to do mundane stuff. You can always pay someone who's willing to do that for you.
Right.
You are there to strategize, to analyze, to be better than yourself yesterday. That is pretty
Do
much
the more complicated stuff that can move you forward. Is that what you're saying?
More than that, I think what I'm trying to say is enjoy that journey more than trying to just do the same thing every day. Where we come back
Mm,
to the first point, where if you're doing the same thing every day, you're not going to get any different results. So
right.
let's not talk about improvements here then.
Yep.
You know, so in that line of thought, so managing things remotely, how, the why, technology, all those stuff.
And
Uh,
staying, and you were always like, um, staying, you were one step ahead or a few steps ahead with how you did your work. And you
yeah,
were always looking ahead to where you wish to go rather than being contented with where you are.
right. I think, I mean, I never saw myself as a person who was a few steps ahead like a chessboard game. It always came down to common sense for me. Uh, Sorry, my old boss used to say common sense is a superpower these days. But I think to be fair, I think a common sense is different to different people from different walks of life, etc., etc. So in that sense, uh, sorry, lost my chain of thought. So yeah,
No, it's okay because we are talking about so many things here. And and you were describing how you virtually, I mean, even more than 10 years ago, you were virtually managing staff when it seems to be the trend only now after COVID. So how did it work out, the regional manager thing? How what
yes.
happened? Yeah.
So the point I was trying to say is more on how I used to argue with my bosses. I have no point of coming to the office. I have everything here, and I work much faster from here, and I don't have to commute to work and waste my time 2 hours in, 2 hours out. And I really, really hate this whole thing about being in office at 9 o'clock and then punch out at 6 o'clock. Does it guarantee me quality? No, it just makes my boss's ego feel better that their staff came to work. But does that equate to quality? Does it equate to success? No, it does not. It does not. Today, my staff work from all over the shop house. I've got some staff in Andhra, some staff in Hong Kong and stuff like that. And to them, I don't care what time you wake up, what time you go to sleep. To me, I've given a task. I've given you a deadline. I need those to be done by then. If you didn't, then let's come and talk. Where is the problem? Why was it not met? What can we do better? That's what it's about. That's what conversation is about. And they are enjoying it. I'm telling you, most of my staff don't want to find another company because they are like, saying, you know what, I can take care of my children, I can be at home, I can cook, I can eat, and I can still get my task and still feel good about myself. It feels like a cheat code. I feel so, what do you call that? Almost bad that this is working. That's the kind of response I get. Uh, so yeah, I was not thinking far ahead, I guess. To me, it's just, does it make sense or not? I mean, just the only thing the office at the point in time offered me was a printer. I mean, the printers were expensive. Once you're able to get a printer at home, what difference does it make? It's just emails, SMSs, phones, and papers. Unless you have a meeting. Yes, I will never deny the fact that human touch is very important. But we are not talking about unproductive meetings for 2 hours where we just yapping away and nothing get production done. At the end of the day, people are just tired and they just backlogged with work. That's not what we want. In the Air Force, we had this culture. Again, sorry, I go back to the Air Force a lot because they're very, very disciplined people. We go into a meeting and everybody's seated. We have an agenda sent to you 48 hours before. Everybody's prepared. All their slides are sent in to you. And now we're talking about times where only email is about there. Uh, so all the slides are prepared. People come in, they say their piece, and there's a secretary who types up all their minutes. And after the 45 minutes of meeting, everybody goes have their coffee. By the time they leave the room, the meeting minutes is in their hands. That's a kind of precision. Of course, I applaud the precision. But you know what that happens? You know what happens there? You are very sharp, focus on what you want, what do you want to get. You know what I mean? So why are we having hours and hours of meeting? What are we trying to get build in? Are even people in the right mode to absorb what you want to say? So those things are what we are there to do. One of the biggest flaws I've seen in small big corporations and many We keep stumbling. I mean, this was how many years ago? No, we are talking about what now? About 20 years, almost 20 years ago, and the corporates are still struggling with the same things. Yeah, the platforms have changed, the mediums have changed. We're doing it in Zoom. We've got AIs to take notes for us. Yet focus is a problem. Okay, so coming back to being a regional manager in Hong Kong, I was 1 month in Hong Kong, 1 month in Singapore. That was pretty much my life back then for almost a year, 2 years or so. So I came back, and my grant was up. The grant was up for about 1.5 years or so. The grant was up. By the time I've already grown, I've become a regional manager, I'm handling so many things, and COVID strikes. I can't go back to Hong Kong. The company was kind enough to keep me for 6 more months to see nothing change, and they had let me go. And what do I do? I start saying at some point when you are in this learning phase, you need to put your all your knowledge into practice, right? All this was so that I can open my own company at one point in time or the other. I mean, mind you,
You knew that you were going to open your own company all along, or in the middle of the journey, or at what point?
no, actually from day one,
Okay,
even in the Air Force, my ideology was to gain knowledge, come out fast as possible, and start my company. If I
okay.
don't have enough knowledge, then I'll keep gathering it until I'm ready. But you know what? Starting a business is like getting married. You are never ready. You just have to jump in iceberg with whatever you have, and then just swim from there.
Okay. So what happened after your regional manager stint?
So
How
so COVID struck, came back. Uh, I clearly remember I had less than $1,000 to my name when I came back. See, all this while, I have to point this out. All this while, I got all these opportunities, and people are thinking I'm earning 20,000, 30,000. No, I was earning less than 5,000. Even my bosses were shocked to take such big responsibility with such a small pay. They thought they were getting a bargain. For me and my friends who knew, or close ones who knew, thought I was stupid. But what I was really doing was something that very difficult to explain to people, is that I was following Robert Kiyosaki's form of gaining knowledge. Even if they told me to come and work for them free, I would have, because it's knowledge you people don't share with you.
Yeah.
But once you have the knowledge, nobody can take that away from you.
Knowledge that people don't share with you. That's the most important thing here. It's not knowledge that you can get anywhere else. This is the way to get the knowledge, and the best way to get the knowledge to do what you want to do.
You know why businessmen love to play golf?
I find golf boring, so you're asking the wrong person.
It is boring. To be really frank, I mean, two men hitting around 18 holes with a stick makes no sense. The reason is because when you're in a golf game, you're engaged with the other person for close to 4 hours. You're stuck with that person, you like it or not, for the next 4 hours. Can you imagine what all you start talking?
Yeah.
The amount of insights you get. That's why golf is become a business person's game, because you get to engage with somebody. If you can get them down to the course in the first place, you get to engage them for 4 hours. You know how expensive of knowledge we are talking about. If you're the right person, lah. If you're the giver, then
Yeah,
different game.
that's a clause there. It's a clause there. Now, no, I'm curious from this. What was the next step? I can't wait to know what the next step was.
So now life has thrown me into COVID with $1,000 to my name.
And
Okay,
you were earning a very small salary
very
previously
very small.
because you wanted to gain have the first-hand information knowledge directly from working with these
That, and
people.
also remember when I went into the Hong Kong part of it, I was based on a government grant that
Yeah,
I got for the company to set up. So my salary was the lowest. My staffs were earning more than me in terms of currency.
got it. That's interesting. That's interesting, but very wise. Great foresight, Karthik. Okay, now and then what's next?
Because you do what excites you. I mean, follow your excitement. You won't go wrong with knowledge. But do have some kind of plan, lah. I mean, I knew I always wanted to start my own company, and when I came back from COVID, a lot of companies were closing down. I was jobless. I had $1,000 to my name. What am I supposed to do? I wanted to start my company. And who will think of starting a company during COVID, right? But here's the thing, I saw something. I saw that because of COVID, a lot of companies were shutting down. And why were they shutting down? Again, analysis mind, simply because they were been for donkey years following that whole office atmosphere logic. And here I have, okay, so something I did not cover. Again, 20 years ago in the Air Force, we were learning lean logistics. Okay, what is lean logistics? We launch, troopers into different parts of, very simply, you launch troopers to go out into the field, right? There's long marches. They can't be possibly carrying all that amount of food and rations and throughout the entire journey. So we in the Air Force have this thing called lean logistics, where what we do is we strategically drop at certain checkpoints rations, replenishments, like a checkpoint, right? So this was 20 years ago. We're learning lean logistics. Huh? Coming into business side, I've always been this lean logistic person, right? Work with less so that your expenses are lesser. Do what is necessary. Look at your ROIs. Always. Don't just get an office, put in tables and get stuff and computers just because everybody else is doing it. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You're already going into the error. And by that time, 20, well, COVID was what, 2020, I believe. People were already having virtual office and stuff like that. And I was already running eight, 4 or 5 countries staff from
Prior to COVID, that's right. So you have an edge in that sense. During COVID, you have an edge with your experience, and you're very familiar and comfortable with the concept of working from home.
yeah. So now come to COVID. It presented me with a new opportunity. See, in any market, you have the strong players who've been around for years, trusted brands and stuff, which makes it very difficult for new players to come in because there's very few gaps you can find. You even to find it, you need a lot of knowledge. You know, so but COVID broke all that because the bigger companies got shut down because they were too big to hold themselves, and the new ones were afraid to come into the market because it's a wrong time to come into the market. So it was like for grabs. It was like you can start anything you want
Yeah.
as long as lean is sustainable. You're fine. So I started Favent. I started Favent Employment Services, and we were supplying. The first thing that we did was we were giving maids. It was a maid service, foreign domestic workers to Singapore. And this is when the borders are closed. By the way, nobody is going in and out. So everybody, the normal agency stopped. They were struggling, trying to keep their staff. So I had nothing. It was just me and my partner. We went, we took the course, we learned about the industry, went headstrong. We just got one remote staff to help us with the admin, all the way from India. Just make sure that she has a good English communication and the she's organized enough to keep things in task. And I had my Dropbox and everything and Teams and stuff like that to the IT world was open to me, and everybody was already on Facebook and stuff like that. I didn't need 10 outlets to show people that this is what I'm selling. All I need to do is just put on few social media stuff. Of course, it's a whole different marketing game. I'm not saying easy, but I'm just saying it was open to us, and
Yeah.
everybody
You
at
had
home.
you had that option.
Yeah, when other people are doing the old school type. So that's how we started. We started giving mates. And because we cannot bring in mates, we started transferring mates. We concentrated only on transfer mates. And to break into the market, we didn't charge the mates anything. But of course, we needed to make our USPs and everything. So we did come up with our own set of USP. When my very initial plans was crazy. I wanted to have a van, a huge van, a mobile office. So the office goes to the people. I'm still for it, but I've not worked out the quirks yet. But that is ultimately how I wanted that maid agents to be, agency to be. The agents are in the back of the van is it's an office space with couch and everything. You bring it to the people. Okay, so those are the initial ideas. So that,
Interesting.
Yeah, so that gave me a huge jump start. I was seeing profits, uh, like normal business see like 10%, 20%, 5%, in certain fields. We were seeing like 60% during the COVID time. We did very well in the COVID time, really. And all you need to have is the right people to talk to, connections, an email here, a phone call there, to ask people, okay, how this thing. And the world is changing very fast.
Yeah.
Because we are trying to grasp on how to handle this. The whole world was trying to, every government, every customs, every day was changing.
Yeah.
Every regulation was changing. Suddenly, we came out with PCR tests and vaccinations. You had to be keep up to date. It was fine for us. It was a game. We had fun. We had a hell of a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun.
So
So,
Favent Employment Services is part of Favent Ventures.
so that's how we started Favent.
Okay.
Okay. So after that, Favent went on to do labors. We started giving construction workers.
Okay.
So division type. So my partner took care of FTWs, which is the foreign domestic mates, and I went to venture something new. Again, me
So
being
you had a partner taking care of foreign domestic workers, and you were taking charge of migrant workers doing construction work.
that's right. So
Okay.
that's the training factor and all this. Again, new field to learn. See, me being me, I will never be satisfied sitting down in one place doing the same thing for the next 2 years. After that, I need to learn something new. That the thing was striking. So Faven, but again, those words from some of my colleagues, friends kept ringing. Why do you change jobs so much? To explain to them that this knowledge is tough, but at the same time, I need to consolidate my act at some point. If not, all this will not make sense. I cannot tell them this is what I've been doing the last 20, 30 years. It's difficult to explain that, you see. So yeah, so then we ventured into Faven Labors. Now I must appreciate my partner. She, at that point in time, it was very difficult to sometimes realize your dream if you don't have the right partners.
Yeah.
So she was, she trusted me. She said, you know what, I trust you. Go do what you need to do. And she held the fort. And I told her, you know what, you do FDW. I'm going to start something new. She said, okay, I trust you. No, that of course she had all her internal fears and everything, but end of the day she trusted me, and so I went and did labors. Right now, you see, from Air Force to full time arts, I'm still doing arts. From arts, we went into logistics. From logistics, we have come into domestics, mates. Totally different phases.
And migrant workers, migrant construction
Migrant work.
workers.
So that also picked up. That also picked up, and then we started opening our office in India, where we can train the workers and stuff like that, and bring them over here to give to the construction companies. So once that started, me being me, ventured even further. So to me, ultimately, right, I see I'm a strategist, right? I like skills, I learn them. Uh, am I the best in it? No lah. Of course, there'll be a lot of people who are better than me, but I will learn enough to know so that I can strategize something for this, and then get the good people to run the show for me, and then I'll go to the next one. So in that scope, Favor Employment Services went into, from mates, went to construction workers. Then we went, finally, what do you do with money? What do you do with money? So one of the questions I always ask my bosses, all my bosses, is, sir, how do I make this? I mean, I don't ask them about millions. I said, today I got my salary. After paying all my bills, I got $1,000. How do I make this 1,000 to 2,000?
Okay, you got to speak up a bit because I can't. How do you make your 1,000 into 2,000?
Yeah, so very simple question, right? I think we can ask that to anyone who's viewing, going to view this. You have $1,000 in hand. It's not too bad. I think most of us can do that. How do you make your $1,000 into $2,000? I mean, that's a simple question, right? I remember Steve Harvey. He says, double your money, then do it 10 times. Do it 10 times more. You'll become a millionaire. That's what he said. Uh, I mean, it got line with what I've always been thinking. So my always question to them is, how do I make this $1,000 into $2,000? If I can do that, then I can take that first $1,000, whatever money I invested, I can take that back. Now I've got another $1,000, right? Now I make this into 1,000. Now this is going to. That's the question. When you think of money in that sense, it is no more about survival. Stop surviving, because ultimately, what do you need to survive? You need food on the table. You need roof over your head. Everything else is luxury, right? Everything else is
Yes.
luxury. So once your basics are, I mean, this again is a very army thing. Once your basics are met, your food, your sleep, and your accommodations are met, then your soldiers pretty much will give their life for a mission. That's pretty much it is. So for us also, once your basics are met, then money is not a matter of how much you have or how much you don't have. It becomes how do you multiply it, how do you secure. So it becomes a means to an end. I mean, a lot of guest speakers have come in this, in your career conversations, and everybody had a lot of things to share, and some of them had very good financial advices as well, and I've been following them as well. But here's the thing, they are all talking about what to invest. Everybody says invest. So, but investing is so big, as in, like, in the sense that you can invest in many things.
Yeah.
You can you can you can invest in stock market. You can go to a casino and invest. I mean, some people think it's an investment. We still buy 40s and stuff like that, right? So some people, that's a uh, stock markets. Some people invest in other companies. Some people invest in their own companies. So very first, my $1,000 that I had to my name when I came back from COVID, I invested into Favent, which
Uh-huh.
became $500,000 today, right?
Congratulations.
Yeah, we haven't met the $1 million mark yet. We will be there. I mean, we're only 4 years old. But what we have started, so I realized that this point of knowledge, this set of thoughts, can be helpful to other people, because that's where the joy is. Really, the joy comes when somebody asks me, "Hey, can we talk? Can you help me find out what's wrong with my company or my strategies?" How many CEOs will talk? How many CEOs will even come out and say that openly?
Yep.
They won't. I'm telling you, they won't, because it's a pride thing. So I have this group of friends. Initially started a group of friends. Now there's a lot of other people coming into it. Once a week we meet. We just meet for drinks. We have dinner. We have tea, and then we start role playing. You become my company's boss. I become your company's boss. So this is my situation. What are you going to do?
Critical analysis.
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty much role playing. I mean, that's just one aspect of it, and sometimes it's a matter of, okay, so we sit down, we listen to your issues, then we say, have you tried this, have you tried this perspective, have you, there's something called reverse tactics. That means whatever you're doing now, do the exact opposite and see what happens.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? So we try all these things, but it's a long thing. A lot of them have benefited. I think I can safely say that the companies that I've consulted have done 20 to 30% gain within 6 months to almost a year. Just tweaking certain strategies, just changing the way they think about certain things.
Mindset shift.
Yeah, that's about it. And then
Right.
everything else takes care of itself. So I love doing that. I love strategizing. I like helping people, but I only like helping people who actually want to ask for help. You can't help
Yeah.
people who don't ask for help. So that's tough. Uh, so where were we? So yeah, so Faven
Tell
is
us
now.
tell us about the book you wrote.
Yeah, so I was coming to that right before that. Let's. So now Faven has gone into call more of a group. So we call it Faven Ventures. So Faven is a brand by itself. So now we very I won't say hush, but more like very closely knitted. We invest in startup companies, like any
Uh-huh.
venture capitalist, any angel funders kind of stuff. So that uh, we grow because the answer to the question is, how do I make my $1,000 into $2,000? I invest in a startup,
Okay.
or even, everybody needs money, and if given all that money, some people will invest it well, some people won't invest it well. So it's not always a sure bang. So what you do is you take 10 companies, okay, whatever money you have, you divide it by 10 and you invest in 10 different portfolios. In the 10, 5 or 6 is going to probably not make it, but that other four who makes it, they'll give you three fours, four fours more, and they'll cover for the losses. So that's pretty much the venture, the angel funders game that we're trying to do. But meanwhile, more hands-on approach is we go in, we analyze, we help, and we consult and stuff like that. That's pretty much where we are today. So that led me to one of my bucket lists of writing my book. So it's called Business Strategies, a quick guide to business strategies. It was written, it's about 100 pages. It was written purely as a quick reference guide to knowing the unknown for somebody who wants to start a business and don't know where to start and what are things they need to consider on a strategic level. From the human resource, the financial resource, to the risks involved. What are the different type of risks? The social risk. Why is Singapore so strong today? Because we've got a very good economy, very stable political grounds, where things don't fluctuate so much, and the government support is here, which is why a lot of international companies come here to establish their bases and stuff like that. So those comes under the risk analysis side. I mean, everybody heard of SWOT. How many people have heard of PES? I don't know. You got the political, economical, social, technological, what do you call that? Technological threats that you might face. We're not talking just by spams and stuff like that. No, what we spoke about 20 years ago in the Air Force for business continuity. What if we burn down everything, and how are we going to continue doing what we do? Was the question they asked back then. Now it's a matter of, oh, I packed everything in one drive, and whatever server. What happens if the server collapses? Where's the backup plan for that now? So we are
Oh,
into a different.
that sounds like a very interesting book. Where might one get or find your book?
So currently, the book is being sold in two countries, India and Singapore. In Singapore, you can find it at Kinokuniya. You can go to Kinokuniya's link and look for it. You will find under a quick guide to business strategies. In India, Discovery Bookstore is also selling. We will be putting this book up in Kindle on demand as well in Feb end.
That will be a great idea, Karthik. That'll
Yeah.
be a great idea. Now, you have shared so many insights with us and your journey, and one can see how rich and in depth each experience has been for you. And another important lesson is it's never a linear, it's never a straight line to success. And the importance of money buying you the freedom to
Hmm.
do what you want the way you want. I mean, those are very important lessons that we can learn from your journey. And you
So,
continue to explore, you continue to,
mhm.
do different things and expand. Yes, you're going to say something?
Yeah, so actually the motto for Favent is your Favent, your gateway to freedom. Because we realized
Beautiful.
that we reached here because of our desire to be free. Free to do
Yes,
what we want when we want. I want to be there
absolutely.
for a friend who suddenly has a crisis. I want to be able to do that. I want to be there for a family member. I want to be there, somebody's wedding. I want to be there. I don't
Yeah,
want to be, tomorrow I've got work or something. I don't want to lose out on life.
yeah,
For that, financial stability was important. I want to
yes.
tomorrow decide, you know what, one of my greatest dreams was to throw a dart at the world map, and where it lands, I travel there, go straight to the airport. I've got
That's
my,
nice.
that's the kind of life I want to lead. To be able to,
Beautiful. Beautiful. You were saying, you were saying?
so that's the kind of freedom that drove us to where we are today. I mean, we are not 100% successfully there, but I think we are okay. We are
No, but
okay.
I can see that you're moving forward. You're constantly moving forward. Now, Karthik, I'm sure viewers will benefit from this. What is your definition of owning your career?
Career. See, I don't like the word career. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I know it's a bit different to we're having career conversations, right? I don't like the word career. I mean, or at least how it's perceived. Career feels like a job. And the moment I say career, people think job, money, hard, 8 to 5, all that stuff. Uh, I think the whole notion is you need to live. You need to live your life to the fullest. Being cliche and all, but what I'm trying to say here is every day do something that you like. To able to do something you like, to finance that will drive everything else. I mean, you want to be a lawyer today, go ahead. I mean, today, really frank, I always wanted to be a lawyer.
Always want to. Sorry, I didn't get the
I
last
always
part.
wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
It's a childhood thing. Uh, I did get my University of Dublin did offer me a seat. I was busy and stuff, but I'm probably going to start taking my law degree end of the year or whatever when sort out my schedules. Am I going to practice it? Different story.
We wish you the very best for that.
Yeah. So, I mean, after that, what? Maybe I want to be a doctor. I'll try doctor as well. You know what I'm trying to say? So I want to
No,
be.
so basically, what you're saying is owning your career is living life to the fullest.
Yeah, I'm saying do what you like to do. Don't do it because you're stuck, and you need an impetus for change. You need something to
Impetus for
stop. You
you're breaking up.
you need to be a change agent.
Uh-huh. Okay.
You need to be an agent of change. Change is the only constant. Don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of change. Try something new every day. I mean, to live life little by little by doing every day, do one thing that uh, you are scared of. You know, like shark diving. you know, so that's what I'm trying to say. And here at Favent, we are trying to share this vision of ours. That's why we want to be the gateway to freedom. We want to free you from your own mind, your own cage. I mean, a lot of us are sitting in this prison of our mind, but the
Yeah.
doors are wide open. The doors are
Yeah.
wide open. You just have to walk out.
Yeah. I think that is a beautiful mission to have. Before we close, what do you want to tell our viewers?
Wow. I mean, what we've said in the last hour or
That's a
so
lot. That's a lot for them
was
to
more on my life.
internalize.
Yeah, more of my life journey. But what I want them to take away is my driving forces. Just like how I was always out to find the driving forces of my bosses, try to find out what is the driving force. I mean, we've mentioned a lot of things here.
You could
What?
summarize for us. You could
Yeah.
summarize the points.
So some of my driving forces was the fact that the biggest fear of my life was to say that this is all my life was this small. I didn't want that. I wanted to be multifaceted. Do everything and anything you want to, whenever you want to, not when people tell you to. So,
Yeah, yeah,
and some of the things that, some of the mindsets, very quickly, if you can get your mundane tasks to be done by other people, pay to get it done, get it done. Use that
yes,
mental capacity to do something bigger, to
yes,
analyze, to improve, to be dangerous, to enjoy. You know, because you can always find people to do mundane tasks. In fact, at some point or other, that mundane tasks will be taken over by automated robots anyway. Don't forget the human touch, of course. I want to talk to clients. I want to understand their feelings. I want
yeah,
to know what worries them, so that I can find solutions for them. It could be a small client who, I mean, I still day to day engage with my clients who are looking for mates, who
yeah,
have, ailing parents and stuff like that, and how they cannot find the right mate, and where's the problem. And I mean, just so, resolution wise, I don't just go in and try to tell them I'll give you the best mate. No, I analyze them and tell them, look, this is what you are doing, and this is where you're thinking about it. You need to change that mindset for you to be happy. So we change the employee's mindset. That's the small things that we do. We are giving
the
them freedom.
mindset shift is so important.
Similarly, in the bigger scale, when I go to companies and I talk to CEOs, I'll tell them, look, you are still trying to handle everything yourself. You think that if you are not there, the company won't run, which is not true.
Yeah.
Which is not true. We all can drop dead tomorrow, and the company will still run.
People fail to realize that. Beautiful, beautiful, very, very pertinent point. Karthik, you have said so many things. I will have to watch the recording again and again and again to digest all that I've learned from
I
this
mean, let's
session.
use AI and do a notes
No, yeah, we have the facility
transcribe.
in
Yeah,
StreamYard as well. We have
yeah.
the AI script here. I mean, either go through the video or the notes. It's been amazing. It's been really amazing listening to your journey, your wealth of experience and knowledge, your outlook to life, outlook to something which you don't want to call career. Okay,
No, I
it's
don't.
it's it's really amazing, and how you learn, how you acquire the first-hand knowledge from your bosses, and your inspiration, Ananda Kannan,
Yes.
Robert Kiyosaki. It's like your your perspective is so broad, and
Mm,
that itself, in and of itself, it's very inspiring. Viewers, I don't know about you. I am absolutely inspired by our guest today, our friend, well wisher, guide, Karthik. Thank you so much for spending time with us, sharing your
thank you. Thank you.
amazing story. Yes,
Thank you for having me here. And I'm always open to a coffee or a tea with anyone who just wants an advice on where they want to take you know, their business or even start a business. I'm more than
yes.
happy. More, I mean, that's what I want to do. I want to meet more people and change more lives and be the
Viewers,
gateway for their freedom.
yes, the freedom part is so important. Karthik's information, contact information, is included in the post, in the description to this post. So be sure to take it down and feel free to get in touch with him. He has invaluable experience and knowledge, and he has offered his help. What more do you want? Thank you, Karthik. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you, Mila, for having me, giving me this platform, and making a difference today, tomorrow, or 10 years, or even 100 years from now, making some difference to somebody somewhere.
Likewise, likewise. Viewers, till we meet again.